Happy Monday, everyone! Welcome to another monthly Planetarium What's Up live stream where we're going to be diving into current events in space and astronomy, as well as looking at what's up in our night sky this season. We're going to be checking out our spring skies, stars and constellations, and some other surprises. So be sure to stick around. That will all be coming up real soon. I am Patrick Hess. I'm the Planetarium Manager at Union Station, and welcome to all of our first-time and returning watchers. This is our 90-second live stream, and if you are a first-time watcher, don't worry because all of our past live streams are available with recordings on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/kcplanetarium, where you can find all of our past shows, What's Up streams, and deep dive programs into a variety of topics. If you're watching at 6 p.m. Central on April 3rd, 2023, this is a live stream. So I'd love for you to jump into the comments and let us know where you're watching from, say hi, and of course, if you have any questions throughout tonight's stream, be sure to throw those in there as well. We already have Brett in the comments who is tuning in. Thanks for watching tonight. We've got Tammy, one of our top fans, saying hello from Iowa. We thought we missed you today. We're so glad we didn't miss you. I'm glad I didn't miss you either, Tammy. Thanks for joining us once again. Our 90-second live stream, if you can believe it. Over 79 hours of streaming. And this is pretty much our third anniversary. We started these live streams at the end of March in 2020. Where back then we did them 3 times a week while we were all stuck at home, transitioned to a weekly live stream deep dive program, and then in 2021 we've been doing these monthly What's Up streams ever since, and we're coming up on 100, so pretty exciting and pretty incredible. But thank you to everybody who has been a long-time watcher, and to anyone just tuning in. We appreciate your support as well. So again, keep the comments coming, let us know where you're watching from, and if you have any questions, let me know as well. But we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping first of all, and some updates on the planetarium at Union Station. Some less exciting updates, unfortunately. So due to some technical issues with our main projection system, we have transitioned to a temporary laser show schedule. So we will be showing laser shows every day, and we've got a variety of programs available as well for those laser shows. In fact, I've got that schedule right here. How do you like that? Ooh, I should probably hide myself. So we do have a schedule Tuesday through Sunday for you. We've got a bunch of great shows for kids. Peter and the Wolf, which is a good one, good show for the little ones. That's a laser symphony. And we've got the Great Space Chase, which is a fun exploration of our solar system with some fun pop tunes mixed in. A Brief Mystery of Time is a bit more of a chiller program if you're looking for sort of a documentary about the history of physics and time and our understanding of those things. And then we've got some fan favorites. That's right, Laser Taylor Swift is back. As well as Laser Beatles, a family-friendly Beatles adventure with laser lights and awesome music. So check that out. We're happy to be offering Taylor Swift once again, available every day, in fact. And you'll see on weekends we have another lineup of shows like Daft Punk, Stranger Things, and Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. So you'll definitely want to check those out. I'll bring myself back in here. Taylor Swift, we were blown away by everybody's interest in Laser Taylor Swift. Over spring break, we had over a dozen shows that all sold out. In fact, Taylor Swift is one of our top-selling shows this year, and our second best-selling laser show in planetarium history, next to our Holiday Magic laser show. So if you're a fan of Taylor Swift, you won't want to miss that show. You may also find a cameo from Phoebe, who is making her existence known in the other room. Maybe she'll make a cameo appearance later on in tonight's show. All right, I'm going to attempt to... might have to just escape here. Oh, all right, next slide. There we go. Yes, so like I said, Laser Taylor Swift is available for your viewing pleasure every day at 3 p.m. So again, there's our schedule. This is the schedule up to the NFL draft, which Union Station will be hosting starting on April 24th. And we'll be announcing more laser shows later in May. And then, of course, our regular shows, I should mention, our Star Tour and other shows like Destination Solar System, those will be coming back in the summertime. We're just waiting on some new equipment, and that will be coming hopefully in the next few weeks, which we'll be installing. So this summer, our Star Tour will be back, but luckily you've tuned into our live stream tonight, where you'll be able to get your own virtual Star Tour from the comfort of your home. But before that, let's check into the comment section, because we've got a lot of people chiming in. We've got Maddie and Joel watching from Kearney. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We've got Sherry tuning in from Canada. Excellent, Sherry. Thanks for watching. Always great to see viewers from around the world. Even if it's just next door here in North America. Lauren is also watching from Kansas City. Thanks for tuning in, Lauren. Jerry's saying happy anniversary. Thanks, Jerry. Good to see your name in the comment section. We've got Susan watching from Missouri and saying hello. So great to see you. Glad you're tuning in tonight. Hope you're doing well. Jerry is excited about the laser shows as well. And Susan says hello to Phoebe. All right. Let's see. And Kyla's watching, having some video issues, but it's looking like hopefully we are still streaming. If anybody else is having issues, let us know in the comments. Mindy is tuning in from Blue Springs, and Mindy's son recently got a telescope and has been learning a lot. That's so awesome, Mindy. And you'll have to come check out one of our telescope events at Union Station. We don't have any big announcements for those yet, but in the near future we'll definitely have some telescope viewing opportunities at Union Station. But for now, let's jump into our What's Up tour of the night sky. Let's go over to Stellarium, which is our virtual planetarium software. We're looking out over the lawn of the Liberty Memorial here in downtown Kansas City. The planetarium is peeking out above the tree line. And my favorite thing about this shot is that the planetarium is not cropped out of that photo. Anytime I see a photo of Union Station, while it's a beautiful view of our skyline, they always love cropping the planetarium out. So anytime you see a picture of Union Station that features the planetarium, let us know on our Facebook page. You can share that photo, and we'd love to see it. All right, so I've got some fun updates and exciting things to see in our spring skies. First of all, though, you probably noticed, but on March 20th, spring officially began. That was the spring equinox, which is when day and night were equal. And now, as we are into spring, daytime is finally longer than nighttime. The days are getting longer as we approach the summer solstice, which will be the longest day of the year. That means that the sun is going to be setting later in the evening, and you'll have more hours of sunlight, which is lovely. But for stargazing, we do want to get rid of our daytime stars, so the nighttime stars will come out. So we're going to fast forward time here in our virtual planetarium software. And as the sun sets, the stars will start to come out. And tonight you're going to be looking at our astronomical twilight beginning around 8:30 or 8:45. That's when the stars will be visible. There's always a little bit of twilight behind the sun as it's still setting. But you'll be able to catch the nighttime starting just before 9 p.m. tonight. We do have our view of the stars here. We can see they're faintly twinkling in our virtual planetarium software. Not every point of light is going to be twinkling, though. You'll notice a couple of points of light here are not twinkling, and those are planets. Now, Venus is going to be shining very brightly in the west. We often nickname Venus our evening star. It's of course not a star, it's a planet, but it shines so brightly in the early evening or early morning sometimes that it's called the evening star or the morning star. But we've got a fun appearance from another planet that is occasionally visible with the naked eye, but is kind of rare and hard to see, and that is Mercury, the smallest planet and closest planet to the sun. Because Mercury is so close to the sun, it's often very hard to spot, and it only ever appears right after sunset or right before sunrise. But Mercury is making an appearance. Astronomers call it an apparition, which is a fun name, a fun word. And from tonight through April 11th, which will be next Tuesday, Mercury should be just barely visible to the naked eye. Now, if you're in downtown, it may be difficult to see, but if you're more out in the suburbs, you might catch Mercury. It'll be shining very faintly right after sunset, about 30 minutes after sunset. You'll be able to see it looking west. It's only visible for a few weeks every 3 to 4 months because it is so close to the sun. It's going to start appearing higher and higher in the sky as days go on. Now, because Mercury is closer to the sun than the Earth is, Mercury also appears in phases. So it's moving very quickly, but you'll see as we zoom in here, Mercury is gibbous at the moment. That means that it is more than half full, but not quite completely full. And let's see if I can do this. Now I want to, let's track Mercury. There we go. So if I move forwards and, nope. All right, I was going to try to move forwards in time. Let's see if I can, there we go. All right, so, nope, Mercury disappeared again. All right. I went to track Mercury. Nope. All right. It's not going to let me do it. That's fine. Anyway, as the nights go on, Mercury is going to be getting less full. So I just fast forwarded to the 11th, and we'll zoom back in on Mercury here. And so you see Mercury will be in a crescent phase by then. So its phase changes just like the moon. But after April 11th, it's going to be fading in brightness, and it'll be harder to spot. So for the next week, try to spot Mercury, and if you do spot it, let us know on our Facebook page. And by the way, if you're watching on Union Station's Facebook page, at some point tonight after the stream is over, head over to facebook.com/KC Planetarium and be sure to like and subscribe to us there. Now, while we're looking at April 11th, here's a fun sight. Venus will be right next to a deep space object called the Pleiades star cluster. The Pleiades cluster is a group of about 2,000 stars that are all bound together by gravity. They're siblings. They were born together from the same nebula. You can see 7 of them with the naked eye, which is why it's often nicknamed the Seven Sisters. They are called the Seven Sisters because they were the daughters of Atlas, one of the Titans in Greek mythology. So Venus will appear right next to Pleiades, and if you look at it through a telescope, you'll actually be able to see them both at the same time through the same field of view. So that should be a pretty nice sight. And if you can believe it, there actually is yet another planet that's going to be visible in our sky tonight, and it's going to be a little bit higher overhead, and that is Mars. So Mars, the red planet, will be shining as a dull red point of light, and remember, you can tell that these are planets because they're not twinkling. Now Mars I'm going to look up how far away Mars is right now. Okay, Mars is about halfway between its farthest and closest point, which means it'll be decently bright, but over the course of this year, it'll be getting brighter and brighter, and its closest approach, where it will appear brightest, looks like it'll be around the fall. So Mars is visible right now, but it won't be shining extremely brightly. You will see it, though, and it'll be in the constellation Gemini, the twins, tonight. We can check out Gemini here. Gemini looks like a pair of stick figures holding hands. These 2 bright stars are the stick figures' heads. The 2 characters are named Pollux and Castor. They were a legendary pair of Greek heroes. And there are the constellation patterns, the stick figure there. It's one of these zodiac constellations. Kala is watching with their 13-year-old daughter from Olathe. Thanks for tuning in. Glad you're able to get the live stream going. Michael's watching from Kansas City, Missouri, but in West Virginia. Oh, they're from Kansas City, Missouri, but Michael's in West Virginia at the moment. Go Chiefs! Oh, yeah, go Chiefs indeed. And Michael, thanks for watching all the way from West Virginia. And hope you enjoyed tonight's stream. All right, so that was Gemini near Mars. Now, a prominent constellation that is setting in our spring skies is Orion the Hunter. You can recognize Orion's famous belt outlined by these 4 stars. Here's Orion's feet, and here are his shoulders. You can see the rest of the constellation there. He was a famous hunter and hero in Greek mythology. The reason I wanted to point out Orion, though, is because, as I said, it is starting to disappear. And Orion contains one of my favorite deep space objects, which you'll not want to miss. It's actually barely visible to the naked eye, but if you have a pair of binoculars or a telescope, you can see it very faintly, and that is the Orion Nebula. It's a stellar nursery, or a birthplace of stars, where gas and dust is getting pulled together by the force of gravity, forming new baby stars. A fun little thing I don't often point out, but if we zoom way in here, there is a group of stars here called the trapezium. There are 4 stars in this group, although one of them is kind of on top of the other one, so it's kind of hard to spot. But these stars are a couple 100,000 years old, which is very young in the grand scheme of things. And you can see them through a pair of binoculars or a telescope. All right, now our spring skies, we're having some interesting things starting to rise over in the east or the southeast. The Liberty Memorial is kind of blocking my view here, though, so I'm going to bring out more of a level horizon here. And now it is springtime, and so you'll be able to see an asterism, which is an unofficial star pattern, versus a constellation, which is an official star pattern. But this unofficial star pattern is called the spring triangle. And it was used by some people through history to track the changing seasons. The first star of the spring triangle is this one right here. Its name is Denebola, which means tail of the lion in Arabic, and it's part of Leo the lion. If you look for this backwards question mark shape, that is part of Leo. This is Leo's head, and there's his body, his front paws over here, and there's his tail. As I said, Denebola means tail of the lion. This represents the Nemean lion, which was the ferocious beast that Hercules fought and defeated during the first of his 12 labors. Then the second star of the spring triangle is going to be this one down here, Arcturus, which is the second brightest star in the northern hemisphere. It's part of a constellation that kind of looks like an ice cream cone, or maybe I'm just hungry. The constellation's name is Boötes. It's one of the oldest constellations, with the references to it dating back to ancient Sumerian texts, and it represents a shepherd or a hunter, depending on which mythology you ask. And then we have this star down here, the third star of the spring triangle. Its name is Spica. Spica means ear of grain in Latin, and it's part of a constellation called Virgo, the maiden, who's also often associated with springtime. Virgo represented the harvest and fertility. And she's basically a big stick figure. Right here is her head. Here's her neck, and her arms and body, and her legs are still rising. Spica means ear of grain, and in many artistic depictions, she is shown as carrying an ear of grain in one hand. So again, those three bright stars and these three stars make up the spring triangle. And as you see it rising in the east, you can tell that spring is here. And there's another famous asterism similar to it called the summer triangle. And if we stay up late tonight, we can see those stars. First of all, though, now it might be it might seem like a daunting task trying to remember the names of any of these stars, but there are some nifty tricks you can use. And for the stars Arcturus and Spica, there is a trick. And all you have to do is locate the Big Dipper over towards the north. And the Big Dipper is a big spoon shape in the sky with 7 bright stars. Now, if you see the handle of the Big Dipper, it's sort of shaped like an arc, and if you extend that arc across the sky, you can imagine it passing through the 2 stars. And of course, there's a little saying you can use to remember this. All you have to do is remember, arc to Arcturus, and speed on to Spica. Again, from the handle of the Big Dipper, simply arc to Arcturus, and speed on to Spica, and you can easily find and remember those 2 stars. Let's check into the comment section. We've got Chrissy with the Taylor family watching from Independence. Thanks for watching, Chrissy. And hello, Samuel and Sequoia. Hope you're having a good night. Kathy's watching from Versailles, Missouri, tuning in. Or Versailles, I believe, as it's pronounced. Thanks for watching, Kathy. We've got Casey saying hello, Patrick. I'm upset with myself for missing the first 15 minutes. No worries, Casey. You're a top fan, so I'll forgive it. And, of course, you can re-watch the recording on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Casey Planetarium. Be sure to like and subscribe. All right, now, one other thing I want to point out that I'm actually going to fast forward to, which I don't normally do, but this is kind of an exciting thing that you can see in the east in the early morning sky. Now, let us fast forward here. We're going to fast forward all the way to morning time, or very early in the morning, around 2 a.m. You'll see the summer triangle rising, as I mentioned before. And as soon as this triangle is up in the early evening, then we know summer's here. But what I want to focus on is this constellation right here. It's called Lyra, the harp, and the bright star here is called Vega. But near Lyra, from about April 22nd to April 24th, is going to be a meteor shower. So let's get our clock and move that up. It will peak on the 23rd in the early morning, and It's called the Lyrids meteor shower because it's emanating from close to the constellation Lyra. Now, this is a medium-strength meteor shower. You should expect about 20 meteors per hour, and they're often a bit fast-moving, so they're harder to spot. But if you get far away from the city lights, you'll be able to see it. And at its peak, fortunately, the moon is not going to be up, so the moon often is a source of light pollution, making it hard to see meteor showers. But this one should be pretty decent if you get far away from the city lights. So again, from April 22nd to April 24th in the pre-dawn sky, you might catch this meteor shower. This is one of the oldest meteor showers, or at least one of the first one of the first meteor showers recorded by humans. We have records of it dating back to 200 BCE from ancient Chinese texts and records. Pretty cool. And those meteor showers happen about every month or so, but Lyrids is a medium strength one, so check that one out. Mackenzie, by the way, is watching from Lewisburg. Thanks for tuning in, Mackenzie. Hope you enjoyed tonight's show. And that does it for our What's Up stream for our night sky. But we do have some news topics to cover, some exciting announcements that were made actually this morning, one of them. So stick around, folks, and we are going to jump into our news segment of tonight's show. Remember, if you have any comments or questions, or if you just want to let us know where you're watching from, then throw those in the comment section. This is a live stream, and I'd love to hear from you. And Chrissy's saying that Samuel and Sequoia want to know, what is a meteor shower? That's a great question, guys. A meteor shower is where something called shooting stars come from. So a shooting star is not actually a star, but it's a little tiny bit of rock or dust that falls into the sky, into the atmosphere. And when that little bit of dust hits the air above our heads, it's moving really fast. And when something really fast pushes up against air, it gets really hot. And when that little piece of dust gets hot enough, it'll actually start to light on fire, and you'll be able to see it streaking across the sky like a shooting star or a meteor. And then when a meteor lands on the Earth, we call it a meteorite, if you find one. We actually have a meteorite outside the planetarium that they found in Kansas City. Meteor showers are often left over from comets, actually. The Lyrids meteor shower is left over from a comet, which is a big chunk of ice that kind of floats around the sun and passes by every 400 years. And it leaves behind a tail, kind of a path of dust behind it. And that dust will sometimes fall to the Earth's atmosphere. But that dust is so small it won't hurt anybody on Earth. But it does provide an amazing light show with a meteor shower. So meteor showers are very cool. One of the best ones, it happens in the fall, the Perseid meteor shower. And maybe you guys can check that out later this year. But that's a great question, Samuel and Sequoia. Thanks for asking, and I'm glad you're watching tonight. All right, so the big exciting announcement that I want to start with is that NASA has announced its crew for the Artemis II mission, which will be the first crewed mission back to the moon. Now, in 1972, 3 NASA astronauts, Eugene Cernan, Ronald Evans, and Harrison Schmitt, visited the moon during the Apollo 17 mission. But since then, no human has ever been back to the moon. But now we know the names of the 4 astronauts who will finally revisit the lunar environment, hopefully late next year. Now, in an event that took place this morning at Johnson Space Center in Ellington Field, Houston, Texas, NASA announced the 4 astronauts, and here they are. There they are, the Artemis II crew, and their fancy portrait there. But I've got some more deep dive information about these astronauts. There's a great website that shows off the crew, and here they are. So the mission commander is named Reed Wiseman, and he will be in charge of the mission. He's been to space before. He served as flight engineer for Expedition 41 in 2014, where he stayed aboard the International Space Station for 165 days. Wiseman is a decorated fighter pilot. He joined NASA in 2009. During his stint on the International Space Station, he performed a record 82 hours of research in 1 week, doing works in areas such as medicine, human physiology, earth science, and astrophysics. He also accumulated nearly 13 hours of spacewalking experience. He was born in Baltimore, and he was also previously the chief of NASA's astronaut office. For Artemis 2, he and his 3 crew members will buckle up inside the Orion capsule and travel to the moon and back for a 10-day journey. This will be a journey around the moon. They will orbit the moon, but they won't land on the moon. Artemis 2 will serve as a critical test for key technologies that will be needed for the Artemis 3 mission, in which 2 astronauts will actually step foot on the lunar surface. The other astronauts that will be aboard this mission include Christina Koch, who is the mission specialist. She will make history as being the first woman to venture beyond Earth's orbit and visit the lunar environment. She was born in Grand Rapids, and she'll use her knowledge of electrical engineering for the mission, along with her extensive experience working in space. She became an astronaut in 2013, and she was the flight engineer on the International Space Station expeditions 59, 60, and 61 from February to December 2019. She holds a record for the longest single space flight by a woman, which stands at 328 days. She's also done research in Antarctica and Greenland, and she made history by participating in the first all-women spacewalk, which she did in October 2019 with other NASA astronaut Jessica Meir. She's no stranger to space, and along with her technical and science background, she is an excellent choice for the Artemis 2 mission, which will be taking place in November of next year. She said, quote, "The one thing I'm most excited about is that we're going to carry your excitement, your aspirations, your dreams with us on this mission," she said in the announcement this morning. We also have California native Victor Glover. He will serve as the pilot and become the first person of color to travel beyond Earth's orbit. Artemis 2 will be Glover's second stint in space, his first being an ISS mission aboard the SpaceX capsule in November 2020. He was actually aboard the first crewed mission of their Crew Dragon capsule. We covered that during one of our live streams, I'm sure, in November 2020. Glover holds degrees in engineering, flight test engineering, systems engineering, and military operational art. He's a Navy pilot, and he's been stationed in the United States and Japan for both combat and peacetime operations. He participated in 3 spacewalks, including fixing a broken camera aboard the space station. He became an astronaut in 2013, and he is very excited to go to the moon. And lastly, we have Jeremy Hinson, who will serve as a mission specialist. He's a Canadian fighter pilot, and he became a Canadian Space Agency astronaut in 2009, and is currently one of only 4 active Canadian astronauts. He is currently a crew member aboard an underwater habitat mission called Nemo 19 off the coast of Key Largo, Florida, where astronauts are currently training for deep space exploration. And his education is in physics with a focus on satellite imaging and technology. By sending Hansen to the moon, Canada will become just the second country to send an astronaut beyond Earth orbit. So there they are. That is the crew that will be going back to the moon. And we are now just patiently waiting for the mission to blast off. Like I said, it is slated for late next year. And we will cross all of our fingers that they meet that goal. But as we know, space is hard, and I might expect that some of the dates may change, but we will be going back to the moon. The Artemis 1 mission, which was the uncrewed mission that we covered last year, was a rousing success, and we're going back to the moon. It's all systems go, and they are currently constructing the space capsule now. All right, let's check back into the comments. We've got Mindy saying, thank you, we have some new things to look forward to. Awesome, Mindy. Chrissy says, Samuel and Sequoia say, thank you. You're welcome, guys. So glad you're watching tonight. And we've got Susan asking, do we have any doggy constellations? And we do, actually. We have a constellation near Orion. That is a dog constellation. I'm booting Stellarium back up just for you. Oops, I just closed it accidentally. Where'd everything go? There they are. Alrighty. So let's go back over to Stellarium. So the question was, are there any dog constellations? And there definitely are. So let's fast forward again here. So Orion was a hunter, like I said, and he had some hunting dogs, and there are actually two hunting dogs near him. They're called Canis Major and Canis Minor, which are the big and little dog. The big dog is easy to spot. It has the brightest star in the night sky on its collar. The star's name is Sirius. And the rest of the constellation kind of looks like a dachshund, wiener dog. It's got a very long body and a short stubby tail. Canis Minor is a pretty boring constellation. It's just mostly these two little stars with kind of a tiny head there. So you can see it there. So these were Orion's hunting dogs. This is also where the term dog days of summer comes from. In the summertime, you'll see Sirius rising in the early morning sky, signifying the arrival of the season. And by the way, if there are any Harry Potter fans in the audience, it might make a little more sense to you now why one of the characters in that story is named Sirius. So thanks for asking that, Susan. I appreciate this little diversion, checking out the dog constellations. They're fun ones to spot for sure. All right, so speaking of Artemis, NASA also announced the next generation spacesuit. This was revealed at an event in Houston in mid-March. NASA partnered with Axiom Space, a private company, to develop this moonwalking spacesuit, the first new spacesuit since the Apollo missions. It'll be worn by astronauts on the lunar surface as part of the Artemis program. It's been more than 50 years since the Apollo program, and all that time is reflected in how vastly different these new spacesuits are compared to the ones worn by astronauts in '69 and beyond. These are actually the first new spacesuits, new spacesuit design in over 40 years. Spacesuits haven't changed that much. Aside from a more modern, sleek look, the next generation spacesuits are equipped with advanced capabilities designed to give astronauts more flexibility, comfort, and safety while exploring the lunar surface. They're called the Axiom Extravehicular Mobility Unit, or AXEMU. It was developed with the legacy of NASA spacesuits in mind while incorporating new technologies. It's also designed to fit a broad range of crew members, accommodating at least 90% of the U.S. male and female populations. Now, this prototype and the one that was worn on stage for the announcement is sort of dark gray, but the real spacesuits that'll be used to walk on the moon will probably be all white to help astronauts stay cool in the harsh environments of space. But, dark gray looks cool also. These suits will soon board the International Space Station for more testing and before ultimately flying aboard Artemis 3, that mission I mentioned that'll bring astronauts back to the surface of the moon no earlier than 2025. Very exciting. Sherry's pointed out Sirius Black is the character from Harry Potter that his namesake is related to that constellation. And actually, there are quite a few other references in the Harry Potter series that are related to astronomy and space. In fact, I did an entire show about that that you can check out on our YouTube channel. We can post a link to that. I will also shout out Sherry for doing most of the research and writing for that. So thanks, Sherry, for that. If you want to learn more about the astronomy connections to Harry Potter, check out that show. Andrea's saying, how did meteor showers get its name? Ooh, that's a good question. I'm sure it's something Greek or Latin. Let's check it out. Wow. The internet is failing me for once. Let's see. Where did the name come from? Meteor. Oh, the root word meteor comes from the Greek meteoros, which means high in the air. There you go. It's Greek. But that's a great question, Andrea. Thanks for asking. Kala says, this is pretty interesting stuff. I'm enjoying myself watching. Thanks for sharing. Absolutely. Well, thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And if you are a first-time watcher, don't forget all of our past shows are on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/KC Planetarium. So if you want to check out any of our past shows, then be sure to subscribe to us over there. All right, my last bit of NASA news is that I've got a PDF over here showing NASA's 2024 budget proposal and request. And this is the budget request that President Biden is requesting Congress to approve. And this budget seeks $27.2 billion for NASA and which is an increase of 7% over last year's budget, which is great. NASA's budget often doesn't increase this much. Inflation always factors in, but budget increases are always great for NASA. For those of you who think $27 billion is a lot of money, I'd encourage you to look up how much we spend on things besides space exploration. And you know what? I actually did an entire live stream back on Thanksgiving a few years ago, where we looked at why do we even spend money on space and how much money do we spend. There's a lot of misconceptions about how much money we spend. In fact, there have been surveys conducted that the average person on the street thinks that we spend 20% of the United States budget on NASA, which is nowhere near the actual amount. The actual amount is less than 0.5%. So it's probably even lower now since that study. So, with all that being said, $27.2 billion is a lot, and we can do a lot with it. And NASA does have this lovely PDF that outlines a little bit of bullet points of what they want to spend the money on. In addition to $8 billion for NASA's Artemis program, the Biden administration aims to allocate almost $1 billion for a mission to return Mars rocks and soil samples from the Perseverance mission, which is currently taking samples. The request also adds $180 million so NASA can begin development of a space tug, which they plan to help deorbit the International Space Station when it is expected to retire in 2030. The ISS is over 20 years old now, and it does have an end of life, and so we need to safely deorbit it and bring it back down to Earth, and so part of the budget will include plans for that. Now, the White House's budget request does not represent what NASA's budget will be next year, of course. Congress often adjusts this budget during the approval process. Oh, and by the way, the military branch of our space exploration in the United States, called Space Force, has its own separate budget for next year, which is requesting over $30 billion, even more than NASA. So, always money in space, whether it's for exploration or military stuff. But part of the budget will be the Lunar Gateway project, which is a space station orbiting the moon. And there's other plans, again, to bring samples back from Mars. And there's sort of a timeline here. You can see 2024, Artemis 2 is still on track for November. And December 2025 is Artemis 3, hopefully. And then there are even sort of pie-in-the-sky plans for Artemis missions going all the way to 2028. Artemis 4, for example, which would be starting to build the Lunar Gateway space station, Artemis 5, 6, and 7, and there will be a Mars mission somewhere in there, I'm sure. Of course, part of this investment protects us here on Earth. Of course, space exploration is very important, not just for learning about our place in the universe, but learning about our place on Earth. And again, check out that show I did on for why we should be thankful for space exploration. But you can see a lot of here are all the research centers, of course, that NASA's budget will be helping. They're all over the country, except for here in the Midwest, but that's okay. And there you can go. You can see they even itemized that budget for you. So all your data nerds, you can check this out. This is publicly available, so I'd encourage you to read through that if you want to learn more about what NASA would be spending money on and where your tax dollars are going, or at least half a penny of your tax dollars. Back in the comment section, we've got Chloe and Paxton saying hello. Thanks for watching tonight, y'all. Susan says, thank you, Patrick. You're a wonderful teacher of all things planetarium. Can't wait for the dog days of summer. I shall turn to the skies. I can't wait as well. And thanks for watching tonight, Susan. Great to see you in the comments. Maddie saying, when is the next comet we can see? That's a great question, Maddie. And let's see. Comets are kind of tricky because we are constantly finding comets, but they're often very far away. And the thing about comets is that their visibility depends on conditions that that's really hard to predict. Comets become visible when they get close to the sun and start sublimating, which is when their solid ice material starts evaporating into gas, and that forms a bright tail, and that's what we can usually see. But because we can't really see any close details about comets, it's hard to predict how bright they're going to be. But it does look like there is a comet that was discovered a little while ago that should be coming in 2024, and if we're lucky, it might get bright. It's called Comet Tsuchinshin Atlas and it will hopefully be popping up in October of next year, where it will pass closest to Earth at about 44 million miles. Like I said, if we get lucky and if it starts sublimating and getting a really bright tail, then we might be able to see it. So check back in October next year, and we might have an exciting comet to check out. Chrissy says, Samuel wants to know how a comet can heat up and not all melt. Well, that's a great question, Samuel. So comets are big chunks of ice and mostly frozen carbon dioxide and water from the outer reaches of our solar system. As a sidebar, I did a show about comets where I actually made a comet in my living room, if you can believe it, with ingredients you can get from the grocery store. You can check out that live stream, or maybe you can do that science experiment at some point yourself, or maybe I could help with that. But comets, like I said, are big chunks of ice. And as the ice gets close to the sun, it starts getting hot. And in space, it doesn't melt into a liquid like an ice cube does here on Earth. It actually melts into a gas. That's called sublimation, where something goes straight from a solid to a gas. And as it does that, little bits of it start falling off or start spreading out, leaving behind a tail. But because comets don't get really close to the sun, they don't always totally disappear. And usually what happens is the comet kind of slingshots around the sun, and a little bit of it melts, but most of it stays together. And then it goes and flies way back out into space. And then in 70 or 100 or 1,000 years, it'll eventually come back around and it'll start melting again, and it'll go back far out. So comets they're constantly circling the sun, but they're doing it very slowly, so they don't often come back very often. Occasionally, though, they'll actually crash into things. Comets probably won't crash into the Earth, but there was a comet that crashed into Jupiter a number of years ago, and that comet got gobbled up by Jupiter. And there's some cool photos, actually, of that comet. I'm blanking on, it was comet Schumacher-Levy 9 that crashed into Jupiter. And let's see if I can find a video to show that. Try and find a animation. All right. Here we go. All right, so here is a picture or a video of Jupiter showing, you can't really see the impact itself, but, actually, here's a better one. There we go. So here we go. Here is video from a telescope of the comet actually crashing into and getting gobbled up by Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is awesome. Jupiter is really big. You could fit 1,000 Earths inside of Jupiter. That's how big it is. It's bigger than all the other 7 planets combined. And because it's so big, it has a huge amount of gravity. And Jupiter actually protects the Earth from comets and other objects. So when asteroids and comets are flying through our solar system, Jupiter pulls on them and pulls them away from Earth, and it protects us. Sometimes Jupiter will loop them in and they'll become moons, and sometimes Jupiter will just gobble them up. So Jupiter, we really owe our thanks to Jupiter for protecting the Earth. I kind of call Jupiter Earth's Roomba, since it's kind of roving around and sucking stuff up. So thanks to Jupiter, our solar system's Roomba. That's a great question, Samuel. Thanks for asking. Lauren also says, thank you, Patrick. We learned lots. Well, thanks, Lauren. Thanks for tuning in tonight. All right, we're having a great time. I'm loving all the comments and questions, and we just have a couple more news topics to check out. I just wanted to do a very quick Webb Watch update on the James Webb Space Telescope. Not a lot of exciting science has come out recently, but there is this amazing picture, here's our thumbnail for today, of a Wolf-Rayet star. This is a special kind of star. It's 15,000 light years away and towards the constellation Sagittarius. And the cool thing about this star is that it is a pre-supernova star. So it's a massive star, 30 times as big as our sun, but it's shedding material. It's kind of throwing gas out into space, and that's what we're seeing here. This big nebula around it is hydrogen gas from the outer layers of the star. And this star may go supernova sometime soon. So a beautiful picture from the James Webb Space Telescope of a star about to explode. Let us continue and check out our next bit of news, and that is kind of a cool technology news. A private company called Relativity Space made history by launching the first 3D printed rocket. Now, you may have seen 3D printers before. We have them at Science City, actually. But basically, they allow you to print things in 3 dimensions. Actually, I have something that was 3D printed right here. Look at this. A 3D printer is like a 2D printer, but instead of printing flat things, it prints 3-dimensional things. And so I made this little boat using a 3D printer where it prints things layer by layer. You can see little lines on here, how the layer is kind of built up on this printer. And so they used a 3D printer to print a rocket. Now, this launch was a relative success. Relativity, but I say relative because the rocket did reach space, but there was an issue in its second stage where its engines didn't fire for long enough for it to reach orbit. So while it did get to space, it fell back down to Earth pretty quickly. But you can see they're testing there. And some pretty awesome pictures as well. But you can pull up Instagram here. Why not? So there's photos of the rocket and its launch. So like I said, congrats to that. 3D printed rockets are pretty exciting. Pretty much the entire rocket was printed. Their goal was 95% of the rocket being 3D printed, and the Terran 1 vehicle was about 85% 3D printed, which is still pretty incredible. Even its 9 Aeon engines on its first stage and 1 on its second stage were 3D printed as well. And it's so it did reach space. It got 100 kilometers above the Earth. This rocket's 100 feet tall, 7.5 feet wide. It's an expendable rocket, not reusable, but still pretty cool. It got about 3 minutes into the flight, like I said, until its second stage. Had some issues, but it did reach the edge of space, at least, if not orbit. But it was a proof of concept that the team dubbed successful. There was no payload aboard the rocket. It was just a testing rocket. But it did prove that we can send 3D printed rockets into space. And the advantage of that is that they can be cheaper to manufacture. But more excitingly, you could potentially send a 3D printer to another planet like Mars, and using materials found on that planet, you could build a rocket remotely. And so instead of having to take a rocket to Mars to get back home, you could just build a new rocket there. So 3D printed rockets have awesome applications in our future of exploring our solar system. All right, here's a quick news update from the Journal of Science, and scientists observed an active volcano on Venus. So here's some imagery there. This is pretty exciting. This was actually analysis of over 30 years of images taken by the Magellan spacecraft, which those images were taken in the early 90s, actually. But looking at these images, they actually observed what they missed, a detail they missed when they were first looking at the images. And that is an active volcano. Now this discovery seems to resolve a long-standing question about our sister planet, Venus. And it was often said that Venus is volcanically active, but saying it's volcanically active doesn't really define a timeline, and that could be a volcano happening every 10,000 years or something like that. But this new discovery means that Venus is a lot more like Earth than we previously thought, with volcanoes erupting much more frequently. So they looked at a couple different pictures in sequence, and they observed volcanic activity that was happening between the years 1990 and 1992. So between 2 years, there was volcanoes new volcanoes that were erupting. And so pretty exciting. Now, the sad news is, unfortunately, NASA's recently taken away some funding for one of the missions that was going to go to Venus, called Veritas, which stands for Venus Emissivity, Radio Science, INSAR, Topography, and Spectroscopy mission. NASA sure does love his acronyms. So unfortunately, the funding for that mission is in question, and the project is likely delayed until the early 2030s. But hopefully, we will go to Venus and maybe even explore its surface. The last time we did that was in the 70s and 80s, and the probes only lasted minutes before they were crushed by the atmospheric pressure or melted by the heat and acid. So hopefully, with modern technology, we can explore Venus and have some more surface data that will last a little bit longer. Andrea in the comments says, how many rings do you see at Saturn? So Saturn has a ring system, but it does have a lot of different layers of rings. And so it's kind of hard to say how many rings. They are separated into different sets, but it does have one main ring system. Many of the outer planets have rings, actually. Jupiter, Neptune, and Uranus have rings, but their rings are more dusty, so they're not as bright or shiny as Saturn, which is why they're harder to see. Saturn's rings are icy, so they're much shinier. And we also have Myrene and Maxine watching from Overland Park. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. I appreciate you watching tonight. Hope you're doing well. All right, just a couple more news bits from beyond our solar system. So if you are watching and have any comments or questions, now's your last chance. We will be wrapping up here in just a few minutes. But here is an update about one of our universe's most mysterious features, black holes. And a massive black hole was discovered. In fact, they call this an ultramassive black hole, and this black hole is over 30 billion times as big as our sun. So, in a press release released just days ago, a group of astronomers discovered this black hole. It's more than 7,000 times as big as the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way. The team used gravitational lensing to detect this black hole, and there's a really cool video that I'd like to pull up and just have playing here. So the way they discovered this black hole is using this natural phenomenon called gravitational lensing. Massive objects, gravitational fields, bend photons of light, magnifying and warping them, making it possible to see objects that would otherwise be hidden. So you can see the captions here. Scoot out of the way. So there's a massive galaxy between, so there's a massive galaxy behind this other galaxy where the black hole was. And the gravity from this black hole is bending the light of the galaxy behind it. And astronomers actually use a really cool technique where they use simulations to match the shape of this sort of after image. So this little image is a double image produced by the gravitational lensing. And to find the black hole's mass, they used computer simulations to try to approximate what that black hole would look like. So they adjusted the mass of this simulated black hole, and when they found sort of a shape of light that matched closely to the actual image, they were able to estimate the size of that black hole. So this particular black hole, which is roughly 30 billion times the mass of our sun, is one of the biggest ever detected, and on the upper limit of how large we believe black holes can theoretically become. So this is an extremely exciting discovery, said James Nightingale, a physicist at Durham University, in the university's press release. The biggest known black hole is called TON 618, which is 40 billion times as big as our sun, and it's about 10.37 billion light years away. But these ultramassive black holes are classified as those between 10 and 40 billion solar masses, according to NASA. So finding more black holes of such gargantuan scale could help astrophysicists figure out this puzzle, which is exactly how black holes grow and what defines the limits of their size. So cool stuff, that black hole discovery. And our final news story, and this is a very exciting one that has implications for life in our universe. And this study was released a few days ago. And the study is called Deuterium-Enriched Water Ties Planet-Forming Disks to Comets and Protostars. Let me translate that for you. Basically, researchers studying distant stars, or studying a distant star forming within a dusty cloud, have found an abundance of water in its immediate vicinity. And this could have implications for the origins of water in our own solar system. So this scientific paper has a lot of cool science-y pictures. But let me summarize. So this disk of material that they're studying is called V883 Orionis. It sits about 1,300 light years away in the constellation Orion. And it is a protoplanetary disk. That means that eventually planets will coalesce there at the center, will coalesce around the center, which is where a new star is forming. So stars form when a bunch of gas and dust is floating around and gravity pulls it together. And as the gravity pulls this ball of gas together, stellar ignition may happen and stellar fusion may start, but there may be leftover material floating around, and that material could coalesce to form planets, and this is what we call a protoplanetary disk. So a team of astronomers used the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array, or ALMA, which is a radio telescope in Chile, to look for chemical signatures of water in this cloud, and they found some. And they published their findings in Nature magazine here. Quote, "We've never been able to measure the composition of water in a protoplanetary disk before," said John Tobin, an astronomer at the National Radio Astronomy Observatory and lead author of this new paper. The measurement we made sort of fills the big gap in our knowledge of what happens between the protostar phase, when the star is first beginning to be created, versus comets, where the sort of leftovers of planet formation and where scientists believe water on Earth came from. So the water on our planet, scientists likely think came from comets impacting Earth during its formation. But the question was, where did that water come from? And this may be a clue that that helps scientists to kind of figure this out. So it seems like this water actually was around during the formation of our solar system in this protoplanetary disk. So the team saw normal water, which is to say H2O, but they also saw heavy water, in which one of the water's hydrogen atoms is replaced by deuterium, a heavy isotope of hydrogen. So in total, this study found over 1,200 times the amount of water that Earth has in all of its oceans in this protoplanetary disk. So that's 1,200 times, pretty much 1,000 times the water that our solar system has in this distant future solar system. Now, the water, or this gas and dust, will not be coalescing for a few billion years, so this solar system won't be forming for quite a while, but it is pretty cool that we can see the early days of the solar system, and we know that there is already water lurking in that protoplanetary disk. All right, folks. Well, that is the end of our news segment, so we're going to start wrapping up here. So if you have any last-second comments or questions, throw those in. We have Jerry asking, will the planetarium be closed any days during the draft? Thanks, and see you soon. Thanks for asking that, Jerry, and the answer is yes. So if you missed the announcement, Union Station will be hosting the upcoming NFL draft, and that will be taking place later this month from April 24th through the 28th at the very least. And the planetarium will be closed to the public. In fact, all of Union Station will be closed to the public. They are building the stage for that outside Union Station right now, but Union Station and its attractions, including the planetarium, are open right now. Just plan accordingly because parking is a little bit hairy because of the construction. Parking is available in our western parking garage, which you can reach from Broadway and Pershing. So you'll want to come in from the west side of Union Station to find parking there. But like I said, Union Station is still open as they are setting that up, and it will be closed during the week of the draft. Callan says, great broadcast, very nice and informative. Have a wonderful evening, Patrick. Well, I appreciate that, Callan. Have a wonderful evening yourself, and to all of our watchers still tuning in, thank you so much for supporting our live stream tonight. Don't forget that you can find past recordings of all of our other live streams on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/kcplanetarium. And if you're watching from Union Station's Facebook page after tonight's stream, go over to the Planetarium Facebook page. That's facebook.com/kcplanetarium, where you can find all of our future space updates there. And for all of our top fans who have stuck around till the end, you get a special cameo appearance from our live stream mascot, Phoebe. Phoebe's making some nice tweets. Hi, Phoebe. You want to say hello to everybody? Tweet? How about Scratch? No? Scratch? Good bird. Can I have some kisses? How about give me kisses? Give me kisses. Give me a kiss. She's not in a very kissy mood lately, but that's okay. She's happy to see everybody. Those are her happy little tweets. And I am happy that you all tuned in tonight. Once again, I have been your Planetarium Manager, Patrick Hess, and this is our mascot, Phoebe. And we appreciate your support. Hope to see you at the planetarium soon. Have a wonderful evening, and happy stargazing. Yeah, 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 Phoebe. Scratch. All right. Good night, everybody. Have a good night. Tweet, tweet.